The Germans called them Nachthexen, the night witches. Not because of some propaganda trick, but because these Soviet women flew biplanes made of plywood and canvas, cut their engines in the dark, and glided silently over German positions like ghosts. By the time the bombs fell, the only sound was the wind. By the summer of 1942, the Eastern Front was a meat grinder. The Wehrmacht had pushed deep into Soviet territory. Stalingrad was burning. The Caucasus oil fields were under threat, and Stalin's army was bleeding men faster than it could replace them. But in a small airfield near Engels, something unprecedented was taking shape. Major Marina Roskova, sometimes called the Soviet Amelia Earhart, had convinced Stalin himself to form 3 all-female aviation regiments. Pilots, navigators, mechanics, ground crew, every single one of them a woman. The most feared of these 3 regiments was the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. Their average age, 22. Some were as young as 17. University students, factory workers, musicians. They volunteered by the thousands, so many that Roskova could only take a fraction. And the plane they were given? The Polikarpov Po-2, a crop duster, a training biplane made of plywood, canvas, and wire. Maximum speed, 94 miles per hour. For context, a German Messerschmitt could fly 3 times faster. The Po-2 couldn't carry a parachute and bombs at the same time, so they left the parachutes behind. Let me put this in perspective. These women were flying at night in open cockpits, in temperatures that dropped to -30 degrees, in a plane that was literally flammable. One tracer round in the whole aircraft was a fireball, and they had no defense, no guns, no radar, no radio.
But here's the thing about the Po-2 that nobody expected. Its weakness was also its superpower. The technique was this. They would fly in groups of 3. The first 2 planes would approach the German positions with engines running, deliberately attracting searchlights and anti-aircraft fire. While every German gunner was focused on those 2 decoys, the third plane would cut its engine entirely. In the sudden silence, she would glide, completely invisible, completely silent, until she was directly over the target. The only sound the Germans heard was a soft whooshing, like a broomstick cutting through air. That's where the name came from, Nachthexen, night witches. She'd release her bombs, restart the engine, and vanish into the darkness. Then the 3 planes would rotate positions and do it again and again. Each crew flew up to 18 missions in a single night.
18 missions in an open cockpit, in sub-zero temperatures, in a plane made of wood and fabric, with no parachute. Every single night. Over the course of the war, the 588th flew more than 23,000 combat sorties and dropped over 3,000 tons of bombs. 23 of their pilots earned the title Hero of the Soviet Union, the highest military honor in the country. The Germans tried everything to stop them. They repositioned anti-aircraft batteries. They sent up night fighters. They even issued an order that any pilot who shot down a night witch would automatically receive the Iron Cross. It didn't work. The Po-2 flew so slowly that the German Messerschmitts would stall trying to match its speed. The advanced German fighters literally could not fly slow enough to shoot them down.
But make no mistake, this wasn't a fairy tale. 32 of the night witches were killed in action. When a Po-2 was hit, it didn't crash, it burned. The canvas and plywood turned the entire plane into a torch in seconds. Nadezhda Popova, one of the regiment's most decorated pilots, flew 852 missions. She was shot down multiple times. On one mission, she counted 42 bullet holes in her plane after landing. She flew again the next night. Think about that for a moment. 852 missions in an open cockpit biplane at night over enemy territory with no parachute. Most combat pilots in the entire war flew fewer than 100.
After the war, the Night Witches were mostly forgotten. The Soviet Union disbanded the regiment. The women went back to their lives, to universities, to factories, to raising families. Many never spoke about what they'd done. The Western world wouldn't learn their story for decades. But the Germans never forgot. Years after the war, Wehrmacht veterans would still speak of them, not with contempt, but with something closer to awe. Because in the darkest skies of the Eastern Front, a group of women in plywood biplanes had done what the most advanced air forces in the world struggled to do. They had made the Wehrmacht afraid of the dark. If you want to see more untold stories from the war brought to life like this, subscribe and hit that bell. The next story is even more unbelievable.